Star Wars Young Jedi Knights Return to Ord Mantell, Chapter 21. That was hard work. I'm starved, Jaina said. She collapsed into a wooden bench beside her brother and looked appreciatively at the feast being laid out by both miners and farmers in a long, shady tables in the fading afternoon sunlight in the roof of the mountains. You're hungry, Jason said. Hey, but what about us? Zeke and Anja and I are just sitting on a ship and flying around all day, you know. There was nothing between us and those explosives except for the Force and our lightsabers. Lobach and I were also in considerable danger afoot, Tunnel pointed out. Jaina grinned good-naturedly. Guess you're probably even hungrier than I am, huh? The one-eyed girl cocked an eyebrow at her. This is a fact. Anja stood with her feet spread apart, shook back her long silky hair, and heaved a dramatic sigh. I could eat a whole Gundark right now without even bothering to cook it first. I know what you mean, Zeke said. Jaina noticed with amusement and perhaps a hint of alarm the playful look Anja had directed at both Zeke and Jason as she said, I don't like to share. Jason chuckled. Don't worry, we'll find our own Gundarks. So, how does it feel? Jaina asked, changing the subject. She looked at Anja, then gestured toward the miners and farmers as they uneasily worked together to prepare the meal. Strange, Anja admitted. It's hard to start trusting someone you've hated all your life. I'm not sure what I'll do with myself now. I've always been a fighter and a smuggler, not a miner. Why not come back to Yavin 4 with us? Jason suggested. Jaina blinked in surprise at what her brother had said. Really? Anja asked. Sure, Zeke said with a twinkle in his emerald eyes. After all, you're pretty dangerous with the lightsaber already. Master Skywalker might be able to teach you a bit more about control. Jason said, it's obvious you've got some talent. A suspicious look entered Anja's dark eyes. I don't know. I don't take rejection very well. Your Master Skywalker might not let me study there. I'd hate to take the trip for nothing. Trip? Where are you heading? Han Solo asked, striding up with Anakin, Kip Duran, and Streen. Jason had an idea that Anja might want to study for a while at the Jedi Academy, Jaina said uncertainly. Kip smiled and looked at Han. I was quite a handful myself, as I recall. Han drew a deep breath, let out slowly a soundless whistle. He looked around the eyes of the young woman who'd hated him for so many years. If you're really interested, I'll put in a good word for you with Luke. Jaina tensed, expecting Anja to throw her father's offer back in his face. Instead, the young woman said stiffly, Thank you, I accept. Then she whirled her long hair slashing out like a sullen whip behind her. Now, if you excuse me, she said to her shoulder, I'd hate to say some goodbyes. I'll return in an hour. Without a word, she sprinted off toward her village. Anakin stared quizzically after the young woman. It's all settled then? He asked. I guess so, Jaina murmured. Just then, Lusa trotted up, with Raynar running easily beside her, as if he were used to such exercise. Ellis says the feast is almost ready, the Centaur girl said. We must come and eat. Han nodded. We'll stay for the evening meal, and then we'll take off. You kids want me to fly back to Yavin 4 with you? Nah, Jason said. We'll be fine on the rock dragon. We can manage, Jaina added. There's plenty of room for all of us. Her father nodded again, as if he had expected this. In that case, do you mind if Streen and I get a lift back to Coruscant with you? Kip Duran asked. Master Skywalker told us that's where we'd begin our next assignment. This suggestion brought a grin of displeasure to Han Solo's face. Hey, no problem. Just like old times, huh, kid? Two of the best hotshot pilots in the galaxy together again, Kip agreed. Anakin looked over at his sister. This could be interesting. Jaina bit her lower lip and looked at the village Anja had taken toward the mountain village. Yes, very interesting. Anja stood impatiently in front of the view screen, the mountain village's secondary comm center. She crossed her slender arms over her chest and tried not to fidget. It would not do to show her impatience. Why was this transmission taking so long to go through? Finally, the static on the screen cleared, revealing a close-cropped green hair and rugged visored face she had been expecting. Zethros. Things didn't go exactly as you planned, she said with a tight smile. Solo's still alive, but I managed to get the situation back under control. Zethros' image remained impassive, but Anja could see the interest in his eyes. Tell me, he said. Solo's children invited me to join them at the Jedi Academy. Zethros' mouth opened slightly. He looked suitably impressed. Once I'm in Yavin 4, Anja went on, I'll win their confidence, and I believe many opportunities will present themselves. Zethros nodded his moss-green head, and a dangerous smile formed in his face. You've done well. As long as you stay in touch with me, I'll make sure you're supplied with Andrus. Zethros broke the connection, and Anja swallowed, allowed herself to relax. That was all she needed to hear. For Jason, the return trip to Yavin 4 proved to be endlessly fascinating. While Jane and Loie piloted the Rock Dragon with EMTD as their navigator, Zeke, Raynar, Lusa, Tenelka, Anja, and Jason gathered in the crowded crew cabin to talk. They shared stories of their adventures on various planets. Lusa spoke of her experiences with the Diversity Alliance. Zeke talked about the Shadow Academy and about his time as a bounty hunter. Raynar spoke haltingly of the bounty hunter Nola Tarcona had placed on his father's head, and Bornan Thol's death at the Emperor's Plague storehouse. Jason Tenelka explained how the warrior girl had lost her arm, how Tenel in a lightsaber training accident. Last, Anja shared more about her experiences growing up as an orphan on the war-torn planet of Anubis. As she told her stories, tears occasionally formed in her huge sad eyes, but she never allowed them to fall. Jason found it hard to imagine the horror of seeing so many friends die year after year. We got rid of a lot of landmines, punchers, and detonators, Jason said, trying to comfort her. Maybe now your people will stop living in fear. Ah, Tenelka said. Aha, but that is only a beginning. This is true, Zeke said. War changes people. They're going to have to learn how to trust and accept each other now. It doesn't come naturally. Anja looked ruefully around at the faces of the young Jedi Knights. It's going to be difficult for me, too. It's been a long time since I trusted anyone. Loie roared a comment from the cockpit. Master Labaka wishes to inform you that we'll be emerging from hyperspace in 1 standard minute, EMT said. Almost there, Jane added. Hang on, everybody. The companions moved forward to the cockpit to get a view of the tiny jungle moon. When it appeared in the front window sports, Jane said, There it is, Anja. Yavin 4. From now on, your new home.